All right. Last point on the discussion topics is this. If David Braben called me right now and said, what do I do to fix Elite now? Here's the answer that I would give. And this is, hey, I'm just a drunk asshole. Who knows? Maybe whatever. But like, here's what I would do. Number one, I would have the development team in 4 groups. You would have a story team, which would be small. You would have a central game dev team, which would be larger. You would have a asset team, and you would have a tiger team. So story team, couple of people, they keep the story alive, they keep the universe going. Have constantly stuff going on in there. And I'm going to explain a little further what they do in just a second. Central game dev team, come up with specifically things to do where you say like, okay, we're going to do ship interiors, we're going to do VR, we're going to do crossplay, we're going to do the big things. Now, to start off with, you need to have a couple things of, we're going to fill out something meaningful on exploration because we gutted that to get this EDO out the door. We're going to do something meaningful with scavenging because we gutted that to get EDO out the door. So start off with a couple smaller, concrete, discrete things you could do, and then later have, but I don't, Elite has been doing this thing, Frontier's been doing this thing for a while where we completely cut off everything to focus on one thing, and then we cut off everything else to jump back to this other thing. If you're doing a game, as a live service, you kind of have to separate your stuff and do a little of everything all at once. So the story team needs to never stop. The central game development team needs to never stop. Next is assets. And what do I mean by assets? I mean new ships, new SRVs, new guns, new hats, new, paint jobs, new skins for this, new skins for that. All of the stuff, a lot of which can be sold, you can monetize, you can make money. So again, that team needs to be constantly working whatever. And then the tiger team. The tiger team is sort of, these are your floaters that can go around onto the other 3 teams. Part of the thing that the tiger team should be doing is working with the story team, where the story team says, hey, we're going to build out this story. It's not just words that goes on Galnet. It should also be, okay, we're going to actually put an installation. We're going to take an existing asset and put it in this place and give it a storyline hook. We're going to use proc gen and make, these type of plants occur in a bunch of places and tie it to a storyline where people have to go out and like look for this particular kind of plant because it's needed to help as a medicine for an outbreak, or it can be synthesized for a purpose, for a whatever, that you could use that with the story team. Sometimes the tiger team will be, if there's a massive crunch to work on a specific hey, we got to really try to nail this, ship interiors or this module or that module. They will work on that and help develop assets or help develop whatever. Sometimes they will literally just be, like I said, in the background, randomly throwing shit in the galaxy. If we have 400 billion star systems, okay, I understand where sometimes people say like, well, that's a lot of star systems, but there's nothing in a lot of them. So it feels sort of boring and repetitive, so I don't go. I think if they use proc gen, and they create assets of a certain type of plant, of a certain type of, there's a llama on this planet, or there's a this on that planet, or there's a whatever on this planet or that planet. Every one of the hundreds of billions of star systems should have something. If you go to a whole solar system, a whole star system, you should find something cool in that star system. It should be something at least. Oh, there's a cool star, there's a cool rock, there's a cool whatever. And the game loop guys, they might be working on, okay, archaeology or mineralogy or some NASA type shit that's cool and interesting and fun. They may be working on, hey, we're going to develop this new alien race that you deal with, that they don't instantly shoot at you. You find them and they're refugees and you need to help them. You need to, you find a thing somewhere, like just fun, interesting game loops. And the asset group, they should be churning out constant content, and it should be monetized. It should be, here's a new, skin for, hey, the asset team and the game loop team together worked on getting ship interiors, and now this other group is going to be churning out, hey, do you want this color bed in your ready room? Do you want this lights at the bar, or this trophy that you can put up? Well, it costs ARCs to get it and generate money for all of this. But those are the 4 teams of development that you need to get going. You need to, number 1, do a full mea culpa. You need to have, and nobody else, David Braben. You need to have David Braben on camera, do a long talk. I'm talking an hour-long talk where he says, hey, look, in the Kickstarter days, we talked about doing this and this and this and this. And these were beautiful ideas. This was close to 10 years ago. Some of it, we found out the reality of it is it's a little harder to do. We're going to have to sort of make some realistic grown-up decisions. I don't think we might be able to do this and this right now, but we can look to do this first, and then this next, and then this next. And I'm not talking by a day. I'm not saying, hey, we're going to give you this in 2021 and this in 2020, but just say these are the sort of revised, this is the state of where we're at now. This is what we're looking to put out. This is how we're going to transition from A to B. Don't just go around saying no to everything. Acknowledge the fact and own up to it that you literally like, hey, we put this out and it had more than a few problems. It had a lot of problems. Run it by a lawyer to make sure you don't say anything that gets your ass in trouble, but own up a little bit more, but just like stay shy of the line of legal issues. But like people will appreciate it, and then get to work. I don't care what your communication plan is. If you don't put the work behind it, it's gonna ring hollow. And having a guy go out there and saying, let me tell you the truth, I'm so honest, honesty, that's not gonna get you anything. It's just pissing people off. You need to actually put in the work. All right, let's go around for the top and let everybody respond to this one. I see that Aron had a dot in first, so you go for it.
Thanks. Yeah, I really like your comment about how to divide the development team up, and I think that's a pretty good suggestion. I really just have 2 quick things that I think are less structured, but also more imperative in the short term. I think right now they really need to do a full stop look at what the player experience is right now and what is going to make it easy to play the game, because there are so many things that I as a player, and I know thousands of other people have right now, where you'll be playing with a buddy or you'll be playing by yourself and you'll hit a bug and it just ruins your time. And you're like, you know what? I'm done. I can't play anymore today. They need to iron these things out. Things like disconnecting when you're in a team with somebody and you jump into super crews, things like getting stuck on a settlement and not being able to move. There's all these things that they need to fix right now before doing any of this other crazy stuff or tweaking visuals. I know that's important and it definitely should be a short-term thing, but the most important thing is make the game playable for people right now. And the second thing I want to say is that Frontier has still held on to this issue, which has been there from the start, and that's that they refuse to take ideas from other developers that are good. And it really comes down to reinventing the wheel. And so I think Frontier has this tradition of basically looking at other games that are successful and saying, oh, we can't do that because they're already doing it, when every player in Elite is saying, no, this is a great idea. And so it's like a car developer saying, I'm going to use square wheels on my car just because everyone else is using circular ones. And it's just crazy. So I think if they get away from that and they continue, and they have done some good things to do that, but as long as they pursue that in the long run and do smart things instead of just trying to be different, I think we're going to see a lot of improvement.
I really liked what Kai was saying about staffing up and creating teams. I kind of look at this from a corporate strategy perspective, and I think generally speaking, if Elite wants players to treat Elite as their forever game that they play almost exclusively, then they need to create a business model that supports it and recognize that they no longer have a monopoly. Star Citizen and No Man's Sky are now, quote unquote, good enough to be considered by players to try out whenever Elite stumbles. And every time players wander to check out those games, it erodes Elite's monopoly. I would also suggest that the content creators are the canaries in the coal mine. As more creators grow their portfolios, they will in turn draw more players into those games who might otherwise have stayed focused on Elite. So I think it really requires a top-down redesign of their entire business.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. I think they need to absolutely devote more developers, more story writers, more everything to Elite Dangerous if they want this to continue. I realize that the Jurassic World Evolution game is their quote-unquote biggest hit. Elite Dangerous is their longest running success, and it can stay that way. What they really need, just to cut it up short, more than anything, is content. Content, and not every 5, 6, 7 years. Every 6 months, drop a new patch of
and charge
whatever.
for it. Charge a couple
And
bucks.
yeah. Absolutely. Charge me for it. I'll pay you for it. If you're dropping me new content every few months or so, absolutely charge me for it. I'm fine with that. Just give me things to do in this game. There's been plenty to do for my 4,000 hours. I'm out. I'm running on empty right now, and I'm just seeing all these other games, No Man's Sky and Star Citizen in particular, not only catch up, but in many ways surpass Elite Dangerous. And in many ways, Elite Dangerous is still ahead of those too, but it's not going to stay that way for much longer.
But if they turn it around, they can get it back. They can. Absolutely.
But they have to devote themselves to do it, and that's going to cost them money and time. And I don't know if they have the desire to do that.
Absolutely. Juki.
All right. Well, I'm going to offer the contrary to that particular position. And also, Mark, if you are listening, on the off chance, my friend, you're kind of right. You need engine developers. But anyway, I think personally that handcrafted stuff is amazing, is awesome. But I think that user-generated content is kind of the thing that is actually really missing from Elite. Now, what I would say is that the economy is sort of the platypus of Elite. It is this kind of ridiculous thing that everyone sort of understands, is this universal concept of what the background simulation is. But really, there are lessons to be learned from EVE in this regard, where the economy can really sort of push the game forward in terms of what the users want from it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the economy, when you talk about EVE, you're talking about you buy a weapon, right? You buy a weapon at a station. That weapon has been transported there by a player because of demand, because of market demand. And that weapon was transported there under insurance that has been insured by a different player, right? And that weapon has been constructed at a refinery that is controlled by a player that has hired Helping Hand to fight against pirates. Like, there are so many layers here where very basic user-generated content really genuinely could be the savior. I think when you look at Elite as it stands today, it's very bland in terms of its background simulation. I think the background simulation is the key to unlocking the potential of a lot of Elite in terms of piracy, in terms of hiring Helping Hands and insurance and moving things around the galaxy. I think that adds so much to the game. So many layers that we don't have right now.
Absolutely. And keep in mind that refinery actually only was able to make that module because of the minerals that were put in by someone that mined it. 100%.
Exactly.
Player means of production and trade are absolutely the future. All right, which takes us to Wolf. Close it out, brother.
I'm going to go a slightly different way with this, and I'm trying not to sound like the Oracle of Doom and Gloom, because I'm not. Frontier, you're at a precipice. You've had a little bit of a misstep here. You've got a player base that loves your game, that loves you to the core. Yeah, some of them are upset. Got it. There are things in the game that we want, that we've been telling you we want. There's been things in the game that we've been doing, that we've been coming up on our own, that have created tremendous player interaction, engagement, and drawing more people to the game. You've lost a lot of stock, both amongst people and amongst cash. You have undoubtedly got investors banging at the door wondering what in the hell's going on. You have competition from multiple vectors that you didn't have before. You can still pull this out. You can still make everything right, quote unquote, make everything good, make the game what you wanted it to be, the way you want it to be, and how we need it to be so that we can play it right. The ball's in your court. It always has been. Just let us play with the ball.
Oh, yeah.